On this week's show, Peloton and TikTok have a collaboration, and Jenn Sherman is in the news with director Christopher Nolan.
Plus, one analyst predicts Apple will acquire Peloton this year. Becs Gentry is now a row instructor, and much, much more.
Welcome to Pelo Buddy TV, a show for the Peloton community by the Peloton community. Here are your hosts, Amanda Siegel and John Pruitt.
Welcome to episode 160 of Pelo Buddy TV, a show for the Peloton community by the Peloton community. I'm John Pruitt. Today, while Amanda is gallivanting in London this week, Chris Lewis joins me as co-host. Hey, Chris.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Good. Good to see you.
Yeah, how's your week been?
It's been nice. It's been kind of just a regular, back to the routine, full week of school, and they keep saying we're getting snow, but it's completely the ground is dry in Michigan right now. But looking forward to it's apparently coming. But we'll see what happens this weekend. We're looking forward to celebrating in Ann Arbor the big Michigan National Championship football win. So it's been a fun.
You going to the parade?
Week. Yeah,
nice.
That's the plan. It's in downtown Ann Arbor, and then there's something at the basketball arena.
Okay,
that's like a ticketed event, so I'm not sure if we're going to get in there, but yeah, we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, it's been same thing here. We're expecting tornadoes and possibly snow. But outside that,
nice.
Been doing a couple rows. I got to do Becs's premiere row the other day, which is good. We'll talk about that later in the show. But yeah, just back to normal after the holidays and stuff.
Nice. Well, before we get started with the show, we always like to remind everyone that watches and listens where they can find us. Of course, every episode is released on our YouTube channel, but if you are on the move and you want to just listen to the audio, you can always find us. We're always on all traditional podcast platforms. Just search Pelo Buddy TV and subscribe and click notifications so you never miss an update or an episode. And we're also on all social media platforms. We are on TikTok, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram,
Pinterest.
Did I miss anything else? Pinterest? Really?
Yes.
Okay, for food and food pics and
you never know.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so we're everywhere where you can find us on social media. So, with that, let's get on with the show.
First, let's do a rundown of the latest Pelo news.
And while we're still talking social media, Peloton announced recently a new partnership with TikTok, the social media platform, which will result in the creation of hashtag TikTok Fitness, which will be a new portal or channel, if you will, on TikTok, Fitness Hub. They're describing it on the app for TikTok. So according to the companies, it's an exclusive partnership to bring Peloton's world-class workout content to the TikTok community. And together, the two brands will merge culture creativity to inspire a new generation of fitness, content, and creators. So as part of the partnership, Peloton will actually broadcast select classes live on the TikTok app. And this was first done last year when is it Fide or Feed? Fide?
Yes.
Fide rode live. I think that was with Camilla Ramon on her
Correct.
ride at Peloton Studios. It was broadcasted live on TikTok at the same time as it was on the Peloton platform, but it was pre-recorded. So it was released as a live premiere on the platform.
Now, to that note, I did hear that they did try this week their first live one, and I believe it was with Kindle. They didn't really publicize it or anything. It just happened. I know one or two people who heard it was going on and couldn't necessarily find it in the TikTok platform. So it's going to be interesting to see how discoverable those are as they take place.
Yeah, because is it a new on TikTok? Is it a new profile that you subscribe to and receive notifications for? Like, because I get notifications when Kendall likes to go live on TikTok a lot. So I get a notification pop up on my iPhone that she's live. So I'm not sure if it's going to be kind of the same.
I would imagine for those it might be through the main Peloton account, but I'm not entirely sure if that was the case for this first one because I didn't hear about it till after it happened, so didn't see it in practice there.
And you can't replay; you can only just watch it live in the moment. It's not replayable on TikTok.
That was my understanding, but again, it's new, so we'll see how that shakes out once they get going with those.
Okay, yeah, Peloton didn't state how often or how many of their classes they're going to broadcast live, but they did state it would include a variety. Some with and without equipment required. So it sounds like it's not going to just be bike classes. It could be a good mix, maybe.
Well, yeah, they want people to be interested and sign up for the lower tier that doesn't require the bike. So they got to give people membership. Enough that,
got to entice them at least to get them in with the app, and then we get our hooks on them.
Get the upgrade from there.
Yeah. But besides the live classes, they have stated that people can expect to see new content, a series from some of the instructors, who some are, pretty active on TikTok. Olivia's on there, Selena, Kendall, Emma posts, pretty regularly. So it'll be nice to see kind of what comes of that. They'll also feature ongoing creator partnerships. Peloton, just little class snippets and clips, celebrity collaborations. A few creator partnerships are already promoted in the app. I see them kind of like ads that pop up a lot of time, like with social media influencers featuring home bike setups or promoting the app. And they're always, they're flagged as paid promotions. So you kind of know it's an ad. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I like TikTok a lot. So
yeah, I mean, I see this as upside for Peloton. They've got a lot of people on that app, so this will get them exposure over there. And I don't think
especially with the younger crowd, because TikTok is very much the younger.
They said they're trying to broaden their demographic and go after a different set of audience. So this kind of aligns with what they've been saying since their brand relaunched back in May or so. This is just a big step towards that, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting to say.
Yeah. Well, moving along, we had an analyst who, in their end-of-year predictions, predicted that Apple would be acquiring Peloton this year. Deepwater Asset Management, they produce an annual list of predictions they think will happen in the industry, and one of them was Apple acquiring Peloton. They said that this would be so that Apple would look to bolster their workout segment in 2024 by adding fitness equipment to complement the watch and fitness tracking software. They went on to say that it's also about getting the 3 million paying Peloton users into the ecosystem. They'd, in theory, most of them migrate with some of the instructors to Apple Fitness Plus, start doing that. There were a couple people like Apple Insider who questioned the truth of this, obviously. It's one analyst making this prediction. They did point out, Apple Insider, when they're reporting on it, that it would probably cost Apple around $9 billion to acquire Peloton. And that's a decent size bigger than Apple's typical acquisitions. Now, Apple has the cash on hand. They could just do it. But it's, it kind of falls outside the normal size of their acquisition. So, just one analyst making a prediction. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, a lot of people, I was looking at the debates, there was a lot of comments in your Instagram post when you posted about it. And it seemed unlikely from the standpoint that they would want to buy something that's run on Android, because the hardware, the tablets for is run on an Android operating system. So it seemed kind of odd that they would acquire equipment with Android and then have to go through the cost if they wanted to swap out equipment to run on iOS.
I see that. I don't necessarily think that would be what would stop this from happening. It would be a hurdle for them to overcome or just figure out how to integrate. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, they have that Deepwater, the
asset management.
The asset management company, they have successfully predicted several acquisitions, so their track record is pretty good.
Yeah, I think they were saying when they went back, they said they had 7 of their 9 from last year that were correct. But then I saw 1 or 2 things that were analyzing their analysis of that, and they said, maybe it was 5 or so, depending on how you looked at it. But still, that's a 50-50 shot based on their track record.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I mean, that's something I would welcome more so than maybe an Amazon acquisition, I think.
It depends, because Apple has their own trainers with the company. So if they did that, would they need to bring as many of the trainers over with them? Whereas Amazon, if they're starting fresh, they don't have the trainers already, so they might need to bring more of the Peloton instructors over. Now,
Yeah.
maybe Apple brings everyone because they can afford to, and the more the better. Who knows? But yeah.
Well, obviously, they have to get rid of all the Apple trainers and just focus solely on the Peloton trainers.
Of course, of course.
And yeah, and the feedback didn't seem very like people who used Apple Fitness definitely said how the Apple Fitness trainers left a lot to be desired. Like they were very wooden, not quite Peloton personality type trainers.
Yeah, but again, we're looking at the comments of people who follow us who stuck with Peloton. So we're looking at a bias sample size
True.
From the opinions we are looking at there.
Yeah, I'll give you that. All right, so shifting a little bit, this story really cracked me up. So last week, I guess at the end of about a little over a week ago now, so it was like just after we recorded the previous show, Christopher Nolan, the famous film director in the world, revealed it was in a press conference for, I don't know if it was an awards or what it was exactly.
I think it was like an industry group he was talking to.
Some sort of like panel, but he was up at a podium talking. And I guess he was talking about, the subject was like film critics and receiving critique and criticism and how he received it in a very unlikely place. And he said that he was on his Peloton, he was dying, and the instructor started talking about one of his films. And he said, the instructor said, "Did you see this? That's a couple hours of my life I'll never get back again." And as soon as I saw that, I knew it was immediately, I remember the class in the moment because I posted about Jenn Sherman's ride back at the end of December of 2020. Like I shared it as a meme on my Instagram because it was hilarious. She was talking about the movie Tenet from 2020. It came out, I saw it in the theater because it was one of the first movies that came out after the whole quarantine lockdown ended and like movies in the theaters were resuming. And Christopher Nolan was very like anti-streaming directly to, movies to home. Like he wanted his movies in the theater, which is kind of why he ended his whole relationship with Warner Brothers, because he wanted to, they wanted to stream directly. So Oppenheimer was kind of like his first movie without Warner Brothers going forward. But yeah, so December, I remember Jenn Sherman, it was her 30-minute intervals in arms class from December 28th, 2020. And the fun thing is it's still on demand. Yep. And I'm sure in the past week, a lot of people have taken that class since then. But it was hilarious. Jenn, to give you the full verbatim what she said this song is, she played a song by Travis Scott from the soundtrack. And so during that part of the ride where she's playing the song, she said, "This is a song from the soundtrack called the movie Tenet. Did anybody see this? Did anybody see this shit? Because I need a manual. Someone's got to explain this." She goes, "Yeah, I'm not kidding. What the F was going on in that movie? Do you understand? You have to be in neuroscience to understand what is going on." And then she said, "Yeah, that's 2.5 hours of my life that I want back." And so this it was like a flurry of posts. I saw it in the official Peloton member page. And it was funny.
National news media was picking it up too, as well.
Yeah, everyone was running with it, which was hilarious. And a lot of folks were saying like Christopher Nolan. It seemed like he was saying like someone doesn't have a right to critique his movie from that sort of platform. But I think he was just sort of like poking fun. It wasn't like anything really mean spirited.
No, and I think it was in the context of the group he was speaking to. Like he was speaking to an industry of film reviewers, and he was basically saying, "Thank you for doing a good job.
Yeah,
thank you for being professionals and continuing the work you were doing."
Yeah, but it was funny. So someone posted in the maybe a week ago, Friday, I think, or Thursday morning, the article. And said, like, which instructor was this? And everyone was, guessing Cody because he's obviously very opinionated in his classes. He really speaks his mind. And I knew right away. I don't think anybody else really knew, had mentioned Jenn. So I posted the class details and the video. And then all of a sudden, it was just the clip that I had spliced together because she talks about it at the beginning of that song that she played by Travis Scott. And then later on, she talks again. So I kind of spliced those two clips together. Everybody was playing that clip everywhere. On the Today Show, Good Morning America. It was hilarious.
Carson Daly.
Carson Daly. Whatchamacallit on, what's that other talk? Stephen Colbert.
Yep.
So Jenn, she was loving all the attention. She was resharing, clips and posts and articles about it. She did respond in an Instagram, I think in TikTok post in a little video. And she says that, hey, it was a dark time. It was 2020. She was running her mouth off as she's known to do in a class about a movie she had seen the night before. So this came out when obviously it was streaming at that point, December of 2020. And she reinforces that the movie went right over her head. But she did compliment Christopher Nolan, say how much she loved Oppenheimer and has seen it twice. And that's 6 hours of her life that she never wants to give back. And she went on to invite Christopher Nolan to Peloton Studios, New York, to take one of his classes and critique her work. And she promises that her class would in fact be insult-free. And it was funny because at the Golden Globes this past Sunday, Oppenheimer was a big winner for, I think, Best Director and I think Cinematography, and Cillian Murphy won for Best Actor for playing the title role. And Variety seems to be a big Peloton fan because they love to talk Peloton. So at the awards ceremony, when the whole cast and Christopher Nolan is talking and taking questions from the press, someone from Variety says, "Have you had a chance to see Jenn Sherman's apology about Peloton? And are you going to take her up on her invitation?" And he didn't even really answer the question. He just was like, "Oh, I haven't had a chance to ride on my Peloton, obviously, but I'm looking forward to getting back to it."
Yeah, his exact quote was nothing but love for Peloton, but I did not climb it on it today. I might just skip it for a little while.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. It was funny, and Jenn was resharing that, and she even kidded herself. Was like, "Are you sick of this story yet?" Because everybody for 2 or 3 days was just talking about it everywhere, on social media and the press. But I think it's funny, I don't think Christopher Nolan took that ride recently. I think he's just recounting a story from when he took it 3 years ago. Because I don't know how somebody would randomly just pull up a class from December of 2020 recently.
Again,
so
I think it was just the context of the industry group he was speaking to is why it came up again. And someone just happened to hear that quote and ran with it.
Still, it was a lot of fun. It was great press. I know the stock had a nice little uptick. I saw a funny post, I think on Thursday or Wednesday on the official Peloton. So Jenn hasn't obviously she's been off the schedule since November, late November. Someone said, "Where's, Jenn Sherman been?" And someone commented, "She's getting caught up on the Christopher Nolan films." Or someone said she was also benched for criticizing Christopher Nolan.
And just for context, if you didn't listen last week, Jenn shared she's recovering from an injury. She's coming back soon.
Medical issue. Yeah.
She did share a post this week of her back on the bike, and she said, making good progress, hope to be back soon. So
taking a Cody class. Yeah, I was hoping, I know she had a class on the schedule for, I think, the 16th, and I just got a cancellation for that. So it looks like the next one, I think she's on there for maybe the 19th. So hopefully, I'm hoping I don't get another cancellation email for that one. So hopefully that's the date she does return to the studio. So,
well, changing gears completely after that story, moving to the Tread Plus, the rear guard that has been announced last year is finally being installed for some current owners. Last week, some current owners got an email inviting them to get the rear guard installed on their devices. The way it's going to work is the part is going to ship out to them, and then a few days later, the installers are going to come and put it on their device for them. These emails are going out in phases. It's I don't know the rhyme or reason, but I only heard of a handful who have gotten them so far. John, have you gotten your?
No.
Yeah.
I've gotten nothing.
So I bet they're doing it in small phases so their team can get some practice, doing it. Then again, they're installing these on the 10,000 that are in the warehouse that are going to be going out to new owners soon. So they might be getting practice on those as well. But yeah, so the Tread Plus rear guard is going out to current owners soon. We still don't have a timeline on anyone who's ordered a new one since then. We don't have the timeline on when those will start shipping out. They're still just saying early 2024 on that one.
I'm curious how involved a process it is when someone comes to your home to do it. How long does it take? And
yeah, I haven't heard yet. I do know that someone is getting one, I think next either Monday or Wednesday. So hopefully after that, we'll kind of get a feel for how long that is. And again, this will probably be in the early stages, so it might be a little slower at first than it is down the road once they've done hundreds of these.
Do you know what city that they're in?
New York.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
Makes
we were
sense.
speculating if they were starting closer to the studio at first.
Yeah.
But then they were saying that someone a mile down the road from them did not get it. So it's not everyone in the city getting it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And also speaking of the Tread, last week we reported that there was an issue with Tread screens and them not going to sleep. You would, get off, hit the power button, just tap it and it would pop back on a few seconds later. Peloton had created an issue and they were saying that fix would be coming out in early January. This week, the fix started rolling out on, I believe it was Monday, they started rolling out the fix, and they said that should be in everyone's hands and on everyone's devices by January 10th. So that should be fully rolled out,
Nice.
And people's treads should be going back to sleep now.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Becs Gentry recently participated in a Reddit Ask Me Anything alongside with Peloton's product manager, Renato Morator. I'm saying that right. The thread in the Peloton Cycle subreddit, it gave us some insight into some new and returning initiatives that members can expect for the Tread in the future. So, including free mode, some longer form classes, lane break coming to the Tread Plus, and possibly a Power Zone style Peloton running class format. So, yeah, first, a member asked if Peloton would ever bring Power Zone style classes to the Tread. And Becs responded, I foresee some happy vibes in your future. Though she didn't elaborate any further. It does suggest Peloton is actively working on some sort of Power Zone type class structure for the Tread. Whether it'll actually be called Power Zone, we don't know. Remains to be seen, but appears that members can look forward to some sort of new style coming in the near future.
Yeah, people have been asking for that one for a while, so people will be happy depending on how that shakes out.
And then someone asked about free mode. And then for anyone that's unfamiliar, free mode is a feature specific to the Tread Plus.
It's a hardware button.
Yeah, it's right on the crossbar. You press it, it basically turns off the motor, so you're basically moving the belt under your own steam just by your movement, walking or running on it. And it's kind of like it's kind of an exhausting, when they put you in free mode in the class, like it tires you out pretty quickly because you're moving that whole thing yourself. It's a lot more effort and a lot more challenging. And I know Jess Sims would use it a lot in her Saturday 60s before the recall and before they kind of stopped promoting the Tread Plus altogether and any features associated with it. So she did state they're planning to bring back free mode to select classes earlier this year. So I'm sure that'll be eventually making its way to the Saturday 60s.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to do it in a ton, but it will be nice to have them back in, random classes here and there for people who do have the Tread Plus.
Rebecca Kennedy used to do it sometimes in her running classes, which I thought were fun at times. And then Renato, the product manager, also mentioned about lane break. He said it'll be rolled out to the Tread Plus soon. Lane break first debuted on the Peloton Tread in June of 2023, but it hasn't made its way to the Plus yet. So we should have access to it at some point in the future, though they didn't really give it, exact time frame. And then numerous members asked questions about the potential for longer form classes, like 60, 75, 90 minutes in length. And Beck simply stated, stay tuned with a smiley face emoji. So hopefully they'll make good on that.
Yeah, they've been, dripping out a few more longer classes here and there, especially on the running platform. Like Susie just did a 90. So it makes sense others will be getting in there too. So hopefully, I don't think they're going to do a ton of them, but hopefully some more will pop up here and there.
They seem like they're more common on the weekend.
Yeah.
The longer form classes. And while we're on the subject of Becs, we now have a brand new rowing instructor, Becs Gentry. So Peloton announced Becs would be expanding her duties and also teaching row classes. And she had her premiere row class that was live this past Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It was a 20-minute row. And initially before that, I think a day or two before, Becs made the announcement she would be teaching row classes in an Instagram post. In the video that she posted, she was reflecting on like several big life milestones that she had over the last few years of Peloton. She included racing in the Olympic marathon time trials, running multiple races, falling in love, having a baby recently. And then she mentioned through all the highs and lows, one thing had always remained the same. She said you being the Peloton members, and then she thanked everyone for the memories and said there was no one like the Peloton community. She'd be forever grateful. And then she went on to say that she wouldn't be true to herself if she didn't embrace change, and that there was a new challenge she couldn't say no to. And then it kind of like made you think she was leaving. She kind of did like this little fake out, and the camera did a quick cut. And Beck said, wait, don't tell me you actually thought I'd be leaving Peloton. No way. And then she jumped into the strength studio and announced that she would be teaching rowing classes.
She had a good sized group on the leaderboard for a premiere. I think there were around 800 or so live people, which is
pretty good for
a row class these days. And Ash Pryor, Katie Wong, and Camila Ramon were all in the studio live with her. Austin, her partner, was in there as well, and then several of the Peloton team. It's kind of funny. They posted I think it was Katie who was on Instagram just sharing some clips beforehand, and it shows Camila on the main rower. And, if you have no context at all, you're like, wait, why is she on the instructor's rower there? And someone in the background goes, I'm going to send this to Pelo Buddy.
Did you get a clip of that?
I did. Nice. So it's on our social media if you want to check that out. But I thought that was fun. And one thing that I've seen people asking is they're concerned that, Becs is on the row now. Is she going to be teaching less running and all of that? And she, on her social media, said, no, this is in addition to what I've been doing. So you can still expect to see me on the tread and strength mat, teaching around the same amount of classes as I was before.
Did you do it live? Did you do
a
class?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just looking at the playlist. Looks like she played some Beatles, some Miley, some Spice Girls, Justin Bieber, Christina. So
and it was not, she had all the ranges. We finished with max to the end. There was a decent bit of challenging in there. So it wasn't an endurance row or anything to start off with. It was pretty good workout in there.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the row, there is a bug with the Peloton Row for some members. The metrics are being delayed. So on Thursday, Peloton created an incident report, and it simply says, we have received reports of some members seeing a delay in their metrics on row. This issue is under investigation. And at the time we recorded, there had been no further update on that. And I'd been seeing a couple reports on social media here and there of people who'd been having this issue. It didn't seem like it was impacting everyone. But apparently it's impacted enough people that Peloton's created an official outage for it, and we'll see how long that fix takes to come along.
And this was more of an issue on live row classes, right?
I'm not sure. It didn't say which one, but I thought I saw it more about live. But
yeah.
And then we also have an update on the waitlist at the Peloton studios. So as we shared a couple weeks ago, the waitlist changed, and with that, you don't need credits anymore unless you have some from the old ones, and then you got to use them up. But now to get off the wait list, you get an email and you only have 2 hours to respond to that to say you want to get in. And again, if you have a credit, it will automatically put you on the wait list. So this only applies when you're out of those old credits. But people were concerned, like, what if it comes in at 3 a.m. and I'm asleep? To help with that, they've now implemented a quiet time or a timeout feature so that the 2-hour timer will not start from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. local time of the studio. Mm-hmm. So if you live in New York, your 2-hour timer should not start from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Now, what this doesn't help with is if you are traveling, for example. So if you are in New York and you are traveling to London to take a class, that timeout is going to be from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. London time, which means for you, that's going to be from about 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. So you might still get an email at 2 a.m. for a London class. Your timer expires at 4 a.m. and you just miss out on it because you're asleep. I think, that's an edge case. You do have a decent number of people who travel, but just be aware that that's a thing. So you shouldn't, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. local time is that timeout.
So question, so if it's during that quiet time and you get an email that you're off the wait list, can you still respond?
I'm not entirely sure if the email won't send until 6 a.m. or if the email will still come and the timer just doesn't start till 6 a.m. So I'm not entirely sure with the exact implementation of that at this point.
I took it to mean that if you get the email during the quiet time, you don't have to worry about responding within 2 hours. Okay. And then another question about the studio credits. Can you no longer, with the new system, buy studio experiences ahead of time? Gotcha.
Those are the only people who have those are from the old system, and there is currently no way to buy new ones of those.
Okay. So you just buy them now directly at checkout when you're booking the class.
Yeah, you add the class to your cart, and then, the first time you do it, you have to put in your credit card information. And then it should save it so that future times you can check out quicker because your credit card information will be pre-saved in there.
Right. And it's still one class at a time.
Correct.
You book and check out. Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's still the, 4 per weekend, 2 per day limit. And with this change, the one big change is that waitlist classes now count towards those limits as well.
Yep. All right, so shifting gears a little bit, XO Cody, the beloved Cody Rigsby ride series, is hitting the road, and Cody is going to be teaching in London at Peloton Studios London. Next month, he's going to be teaching a special XO Cody class from PSL. In addition to that, a Hidden Hills ride as well. I believe the 2 classes just went up on the studio booking site this past Thursday. I did see somebody post about booking it. I don't know how difficult it was. It seems like Peloton Studios London is way easier to get into, obviously, than PSNY. But
it normally is, but the Cody ones went very quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure that was
gone in seconds/minutes. So
yeah. So February 1st. At 2:30 Eastern time, 7:30 London time, he's teaching the 30-minute XOXO Cody. I'm sure that's going to be Valentine's themed because it's in February, obviously. Yeah, which should be fun. And then the 30-minute Hidden Hills ride will be 2 days later on February 3rd at 9 a.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. London time. So that's fun. So it's unclear that there hasn't been any special announcements or anything with Cody at PSL while he's in town. So hopefully they'll add in some meet and greet maybe, or something. Hopefully they'll take advantage of him being there and do some other stuff. Maybe teach a bike boot camp, because that would be nice since Cody hasn't actually taught a bike boot camp since September 28th, which I'm curious as to know why. But that's a whole other gripe. But just throwing that out there, be nice,
What was that date again? His last one?
September 28th, which was...
Okay, he's been doing about every...
The Janet Jackson one.
He's been doing about every 3 months or so, I think. So
for a while, it was every 2. But given we went to that from weekly live boot camps every Friday morning, which everyone loved. And I even said that to Jen Cotter in Chicago at the Peloton on Tour. I was like, why don't, he goes, Cody's such a good sport. He does anything we ask him to. And I was like, can you have him do more bike boot camps? And she just said, like, the bike boot camps, it's not a big draw. I guess they don't produce the numbers that Peloton, I guess, can justify the, taking up the production time and the space in the studio for.
Yeah.
And they also have some other live bike boot camps, but they're very far and few in between compared to the tread, boot camps, which are a few a week. Anyway. Yeah. It's been kind of now a more common occurrence with instructors teaching at the other studio and vice versa from London and PSNY. So, Peloton, Alex recently taught at PSL when they were doing Peloton on Tour, the last stop in London, and Allie was teaching at PSL. Emma, Olivia, and Robin all participated in the Special Move as One content that they taught from PSL and recorded there.
You've had some one-offs too, like Ben was over in the US doing one, and so you've had some other one-offs.
And Eric taught at PSNY a couple times. Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, we have another Peloton instructor who's off the schedule for a little bit. Alex Karwoski, the rowing coach, shared that he has broken some bones in his hand he had a cycling accident. So he's been showing some pictures on Instagram of his hand and his cast and a permanent thumbs up. So, he had been off the schedule for a week or so and people were getting concerned. And then I saw when Becs was announced, people were worried that, oh no, is Becs being announced because Alex is leaving? But thankfully that's not the case. He just had an injury, hard to row with a broken hand. So he'll be off the schedule for however long that takes to heal. And hopefully he'll be back soon and we'll have another row instructor back in the schedule.
And I didn't see it. It wasn't in any of our story updates, but I did, just talking about injury, I did notice Marcel Dinkins recently posted an injury update. I guess she originally, was it her ACL or MCL?
Yeah.
She recently just shared that she could finally, she had some sort of movement. I don't know if she could like lift her leg fully.
Or fully extend her leg, I think.
Fully extend her leg. So hopefully she's closer to returning, because she's been gone a while now.
Yeah, since from the platform. August.
Yeah. So hopefully she's going to be returning at some point.
Definitely.
In 2024. All right. So for all you long form class lovers, we now have a 2-hour. It's Power Zone, I assume, right?
Yeah, Power Zone.
2-hour Power Zone Endurance. The next one with Matt Wilpers will be on Saturday morning, February 3rd. In case you missed it, Matt had previously teased that they would aim to do these every quarter moving forward. And I think the last one was November, I want to say.
Yeah, same.
I did it live. It was fun. I'm sure I'll do this one again. It wasn't like as bad of a slog as I thought it would be. And I'm gonna give him a song request because I know he's gonna have a lengthy playlist for 2 hours of music.
True.
But yeah, and yeah, quarterly makes sense. I think for something like that. Saturday morning, 7 a.m. At PSNY.
Yeah, I mean, people love those who love them, but then there's a lot of people who are just like, that's just way too long, or they just rather stack classes. So there is demand for those, but not enough for that to be a weekly thing these days. So
yeah. So looking forward to that. Month away.
Nice. Well, yeah, Peloton and Lululemon have teamed up again, and they have the new Move For You challenge and classes. The challenge says Peloton and Lululemon invite you to make 2024 the year of you by challenging your body and focusing your mind. You can earn badges for this challenge, but there's no individual badge. The classes started this Monday, and there's going to be 15 in total over the next 2 weeks. And it's not just the Lululemon ambassadors who are teaching these. They all will have one, I'm sure. But then the other 10 or so classes, because there's 5 ambassadors now, are being filled out by other classes. The coaches are wearing head-to-toe Lululemon gear. And from what I've heard from some people who have taken them, they're a little strong on being a Lululemon advertisement in some of these classes. So just A handful are not as bad as others, but there's one or two that I've heard in particular that, the Lululemon aspect comes across a little strong in them.
I was just about to say, do you think it's a little ridiculous that they always seem to want to prominently display the Peloton Lululemon long black towel, like from every piece of equipment in the studio, like especially at the bike and the tread? I mean, the logos are so massive on that towel. It's just it's a little ridiculous how they're just putting that advertisement right in your face. I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way, but it just seems kind of excessive.
Yeah, well, if you feel that way, you might want to avoid some of the classes as part of this challenge, because it's talked about a lot during the classes, and you use the yoga blocks by putting your hand over the Lululemon logo of your block, type stuff.
Well, they love to fold and arrange the towel in the tread studio so perfectly that it's standing up out of one cup holder. You see that Lulu, bob hair logo right there in your face. So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, Peloton's released their latest 1-week split strength training program this week. The split strength training programs are designed to be repeated so you can track your progress over time. This one's with Matty and Giacomo. It's a beginner level 5 split strength training program. It's 5 days worth of workouts. Each workout's 30 minutes in length, targets a different muscle group with each one. So you'll start with backs and biceps. You'll progress to legs and shoulders. You'll move on to chest and back, and then do legs and core, finish with chest and triceps. So this is Peloton's first beginner level split strength training program in English. All the previous ones had been either intermediate or advanced. So day one, it's 30-minute backs.
Just to clarify, there is one German beginner one as well. That's out there.
Yeah, so day one, it's 30-minute backs and biceps. Day two, you're doing legs and shoulders, like I said. Day three is chest and back. Day 4, legs and core, and then you finish up with chest and triceps on day 5.
Nice. Yeah, I know a couple of people who have taken this one, and they said it was a good beginner level, and they looked forward to repeating it and seeing how they progressed. So,
and is this one where it's locked? You can't do day 2 until you complete day 1?
Yep. Unless you go to the Pelo Buddy site, and we have all the links there, and you can jump around and whatever.
We got the cheat codes, the back door. Yeah.
Well, we have the next artist series as well, which is also a Broadway series this week. There was a Color Purple artist series took place celebrating the new movie, which came out, I think, in 1985, the original. And then it came to Broadway a couple years ago, and now the new movie is a musical version of the movie. There are 5 classes in total. There were rides with Benny and Tunde. There was a run with Jocelyn. There was a walk with Matty, and there was a row with Ash. And those all took place live on Thursday and are available on the on-demand platform now.
Nice. Well, we've got Peloton has made an update to their filtering options with yoga, the yoga modality. So now they're giving both yin yoga and yoga conditioning its own specific filter, so members can more easily find those classes under them. So the new filters for both yin yoga and yoga conditioning, they can be found in the class type filters like you normally would filter within Peloton's yoga library. So applying the filter, it'll allow you to view solely either yin yoga classes or yoga conditioning. So previously, yin yoga was housed within the restorative filter and didn't have its own category.
Yeah, you can go and find those through the collections, but this is just going to be a lot easier for people because the collections are not in any order these days and they move around.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a lot easier for people to just go who want to do yin yoga. Just go to the library like you're used to, and you can use the filter now.
Yeah, it's nice. Now you have a separate filter. You can filter for warm-ups.
Yeah.
A separate one for cool down. So yeah, it's nice they're adding the additional ones for very specific class types.
Yeah, especially I guess they've been waiting for them to hit a certain number, and then it makes sense for them to, you don't want to do it with there's only 1 or 2 classes necessarily. So I guess they've been doing it for long enough now. It makes sense for it to be out there.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Your favorite topic now, John, class purges.
Happy to assign that one to you.
I'm sure. We had another one this week, which will come to no surprise because they've now been doing this every week since April 1st. This one purged the majority of classes from November 5th to November 14th of 2020. There are around 200 classes or so that were purged in these 10 days, and this kind of continued the trend. This was the fourth week in a row that it's been back up to 9 or 10 days worth of classes. So this was the purge for last week, so we'll know next week, kind of whether this week's purge continued the same pace or removed more or less days.
Interestingly, I noticed I was randomly looking at Jenn Sherman's, how far back her oldest class goes. And I noticed the oldest one was her Billy Joel ride from 2019.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, I did notice several of her at-home classes were restored, which was nice to see.
So they kept a decent number of those when they went through those date periods as well. So I guess those were just such a unique thing. They wanted to keep those out there.
Well, at one point, a lot of them were purged, though.
Okay.
Because I noticed like one right around Father's Day of 2020 was all of a sudden gone. And I don't know when they restored them, but I mean, it looks like most or all of them are back for her. So it's kind of nice to see.
Yeah.
Well, Peloton, as we all know, Peloton did not provide members with that super fun annual review for 2023 like they did the previous year. A lot of members were obviously disappointed with the very sort of simple email that we received, sort of recapping, which for a lot of folks didn't have correct information, wasn't really accurate. So now, if members are interested in getting these complete statistics for 2023, is it domestiq or domestiq IQ?
Domestiq.
Domestiq built a free tool to accomplish this. You can access your 2022 replay via domestiq, domestiq.net/replay. I just the other day, I set it up. It's pretty easy. You have to create a email and password for domestiq, but I didn't see. Is there a video option? It just gave me all these different breakdowns.
Video. It's
okay.
It's your full year with a lot more stats than what Peloton was giving you.
Yeah, way more comprehensive, obviously, than the one that Peloton put out this past year.
And it's actually
December.
a calendar year too, because Peloton's ended October 31st, and this is actually January 1st through December 31st.
Stats. Yeah, so this tool allows you to analyze your full workout data for the whole year. Active days, total workouts, duration spent working out, calories burned, total distance. I thought it was really cool. It would give you a breakdown of the classes, like the artists that was, I guess, played the most in the majority of classes that you took.
Yep.
And mine was an unfortunate one. It was Beyonce, which I'm, kind of sick of, like, is so overplayed. It's not like my favorite artist, but that was my number one, I noticed. And it also shows the number of each workout by class type across the platform, total number of rides, rows, runs, strength, and more. There's lots of helpful graphs showing the number of classes taken and time spent within each specific modality. So you have like this little pie chart. And there are similar graphs for instructors, which instructors you took the most classes with and spent the most time working out with, calendar views.
I know for some people, like the number one instructor they took by number of classes isn't necessarily by the number of hours. So you might be surprised that, just say Emma might be the one you've taken the most number of classes with, but if you've been just taking her for the core classes, for example, might be a totally different random instructor who is number one on your list for number of hours.
Yeah. Yeah, but it gives you a really nice, clean breakdown of like every statistic that you could, possibly imagine.
Yeah, and if you're curious, there's also, in addition to going into kind of what song was your top song that you rode with, there's also some overall stats for the platform in general that kind of goes through the number one songs overall on the platform, and that sort of stuff, kind of not specific to you, but just to the entire platform of classes played that year.
Yeah, what was I'm just pulling up mine. Top 10 songs and artists in 2023 for Peloton. I have number 1, Unholy by Sam Smith.
And that was the number 1 song on the top 50 countdown as well. So
yeah, and then coming in at number 2, 90 with 96. I don't know if that's like 96 classes total it was played in. Okay. It was Flowers, by Miley Cyrus. Interesting.
Yeah, we've covered domestiq in the past, I believe this summer. You can, one feature that people, wish sometimes is on the Peloton platform is the ability to make multiple stacks. You can't do that on Peloton, but with domestiq you can, and you can actually sync them to the Peloton platform. And one thing they recently added is on Peloton, they've, added the search feature finally to the web and app where you can search for specific artists, but there's no way to search for a specific song. With domestiq, you can actually search for a specific song and see what classes included just that one song, and not necessarily, every class that had an artist and you don't know which one had the song you're looking for.
So I'm on it right now. I see like all the search thing. This is the web browser. Is there an actual app?
No, there's no actual app at this point. It's just going to the domestiq.net domain, and it's, mobile optimized, but there's no app to download from the App Store. It's just through the web browser.
So is this created by a Peloton member?
Yeah, there's a team, and we're actually involved. We've been helping behind the scenes make it as well, the team at Pelo Buddy. But it's a longtime Peloton member who's been working on it, and we got a designer working on it as well. So we've been working on this for around a year or so now. So it's, it's been slowly coming along over time and adding new features as we go along.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool.
A lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, definitely worth, I'm biased obviously, but worth checking out. It's free to sign up for. Like John said, you do have to create a domestiq account first, username and password, and then you do have to enter your Peloton credentials if you want to do the syncing or download your stats. Password's not saved. It's just used one time to set up the connection, and then, it can download your data and give you those stats.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, another complete change of topics here. Speaking of Peloton's rental program, Peloton members in the corporate wellness program can now rent instead of buy. So the corporate wellness program, some big companies out there, UHC, I forget others off the top of my head, but they're partnered with Peloton to give their employees, discounts on Peloton hardware. And I think they get a slight discount on the app membership as well. Up till now, you've only been able to get a discount on buying that equipment, but starting this past week, they've included bike rentals in the program as well. So if you are a member of one of those programs, you should be able to go to your corporate site and you would get a $10 per month discount on the monthly rental of the bike, or you can get a $20 per month discount on the rental of the Bike Plus.
Nice. Well, Peloton is holding a new contest in collaboration with the NBA to offer one lucky winner an experience at the 2024 NBA All-Star Game and a free Bike Plus. A new website has been created on onepeloton.com/NBA All-Star 2024, available with more information. But one grand prize winner will be awarded 2 tickets to the State Farm All-Star Saturday night game, which is on February 17th. 2 tickets to the, so I guess the All-Star game, that's like the skills competition with the players the night before. And then 2 tickets to the 73rd All-Star NBA All-Star game the following night on February 18th, and a Peloton Bike Plus. I plugged it in just for fun of it, just entered the only information you need to enter is your email address and your zip code.
I do think down there in the fine print, it does mention something about it's only applicable for people who are not already signed up for the Peloton mailing list. So just when you're picking what email address to put in there, just keep that in mind and double check the fine print on that one.
I don't know. I put my email address and zip code, and then it just said, I just got the spinning wheel, and then I don't even know if it submitted it. So I don't know. But the deadline.
You should get a confirmation email or a confirmation message if it goes through, I believe, at least on the page.
Well, the deadline to enter is January 23rd, 11:59 p.m., so a couple weeks left. There's a couple of items to note in the fine print. The travel, lodging, any other costs or expenses incurred with attending are not included, so they're not flying you out and putting you up in a hotel. And it's only available to residents of the contiguous United States. So sorry, Alaska and Hawaii are excluded. And the monthly all access membership is not included if you do win that Bike Plus. So you do have to pony up for the monthly membership with that.
Yeah. Well, we have some new apparel updates this week. There was a new Lululemon apparel drop that came out, I think it was Monday, time to be released with the Move For You challenge. So that's out there. And we also had some leftover items from the Peloton on Tour events that were branded for the specific cities. They are now up on the website as well. If you didn't get one when you were there, you just, weren't there and wanted to get one of the cities, you're now able to get those through the website. And those are available online now.
Cool. Well, we got some birthdays. So happy belated birthday to Callie, who it was her 30th. If I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. Last Saturday. Adrian, he turned 40, I believe.
Yep.
Big 40th on Tuesday. And Hannah Frankson just had her birthday this past Thursday. So happy birthday to the three of them.
Happy birthday.
And let's get right into instructors in the news. And first up, Leanne Hainsby has recently shared that she'll be running in the 2024 London Marathon for charity. She'll be joined by several instructors as well. She made the announcement earlier this week after recapping that 2023 was the year she beat cancer, and went on to say that 2024 was her year to get back, and that she'd be taking on the 2024 London Marathon to do that and raise money for Breast Cancer Now, which is the United Kingdom's largest breast cancer charity dedicated to research and support. She ends her message with shouting out several of her instructors. She says, "Let's do this." Ben Aldis, Jeffrey McEachern, John Hosking, indicating that they'll be joining her in running the marathon. And in addition to that, in an Instagram live video this week, Leanne seemed to indicate that Hannah Frankson would also be running in the London Marathon with them as well. However, Hannah hasn't made any official announcement yet.
Yeah, that should be a good group out there, and I'm sure they'll be sharing their stories and as they go along. So I think that's in April.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah. Well, Jocelyn Thompson-Rule has a new podcast. It is called Listen Loudly, and her first episode was released this week. And this is actually her second podcast she's done. She had one before she came to Peloton that was called Fitness Unfiltered. But in her new podcast, she kind of discusses her background, how she came to Peloton, and she kind of goes into the insight behind the name for her podcast. So, she's going to have new episodes coming out of that every now and then. So if you want to hear more from Jocelyn, you can find Listen Loudly on all your podcast platforms from Jocelyn.
Great. And Alex Toussaint was recently interviewed for Men's Health magazine. It's behind a paywall, so just a heads up. But the title of the article was "Alex Toussaint was lost. Here's how he found Peloton fame. A moment with his dad set change in motion." Then it goes on to say, before it, you can't view the rest of it, it says, "Sometimes a first step involves more than one first step. That's how it was for acclaimed Peloton instructor Alex Toussaint." And then Alex was also on a podcast recently on the Keep It Positive Sweetie podcast. He talked about, with the co-host, a lot of stuff in the book, just how he was such a knucklehead, growing up, getting into trouble, in school. He said how he got kicked out of every school, which he talks a lot about in the book. But the co-host asked him, how has he coped with, a lot of the dark times, getting out of the dark times. And he did say how much therapy, talking with a therapist helped him a lot through that process. So that was a good one. Season 3, episode 4. I've never listened to that podcast before.
Nice. Well, we have Chelsea Jackson Roberts, who spoke with Cafe Mom, and she talked about self-care and self-discovery. And the interview covered a range of topics, but she talked about being a parent on social media. She talked about setting boundaries for yourself, and she also kind of went into, coming back to work at Peloton after maternity leave and several other topics. So you can find that article linked in the show notes if you want to go read more from Chelsea.
Nice. And then Jess Sims was, I guess, when she was at the national championship college football game in Houston, where the Houston Texans play. She was interviewed by the Houston Chronicle there, and it says how much she owes to the city of Houston. And then I got hit with a paywall, but I guess you didn't. So you can take it from here.
FYI for people, you might have a paywall in this article as well. I don't know who gets it and doesn't, but she just kind of talks about how she loved being back in Houston because she actually started teaching there back in the day when she was fresh out of college. And she also went to school there a little bit longer, I think, for her master's. But she was talking about how it was very special for her to be back there, and it was her first time being back there in 12 years. So she just kind of talked about her connection to the city and how she enjoyed being back there and how she got her start there.
And she was living it up in the A-list
the Nike suite
at NRG Stadium, with Michael Jordan and Derek Jeter, and even the ESPN commentators were like, they were rattling off all the big names, like there's Jess Sims.
Yeah, well, Camila Ramon was in the LA Times, and it featured both Camila and several members of the Mila Mafia, and it was called How Camila Ramon and Her Fan Club Are Changing How Latinas View Fitness. And it talks about how several members have had their experience with fitness change thanks to Camila and Peloton. And it's a great read, so it's over in the LA Times. Features several members of the community you might have seen on the leaderboard as well.
That's great. And Hannah Corbin, she was recently at a meet and greet event at the Toronto, Canada Peloton showroom. It went down on January 9th. There was an announcement. It was, free to attend, but you had to RSVP for a ticket. But she had a little meet and greet. And also they were giving a discount off of in-store apparel purchase while they were there. You could get an autograph or get your merch signed in a pic. I didn't see a whole lot of pictures or anything much from this event. I don't know if I saw anything from Hannah herself, if she reshared.
I don't know if I did from Hannah, but I did have one or two members who shared pictures of them with Hannah. So the ones who went, so they had a good time. And it's kind of, they're starting to do these more and more. So it's the same rough structure with an apparel shopping thing beforehand, and then the main event with the instructors. So they do seem to be doing more of these. So hopefully, if you don't live anywhere near New York City, they'll be coming to you soon. Though they do typically tend to fill up with those free tickets pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was kind of random, like Hannah to Toronto, Canada. I don't know how they went about choosing that showroom, but get them out there in the wild.
Yeah. Well, Tunde has another meet and greet as well, but this one is she has a partnership with Capital One, and she's been doing some small events here and there with them. And her next one is in New York City on January 31st. You did have to RSVP. It was free. It did fill up, within a day or two of it going out there, but it's going to include a talk from Tunde, and I think it includes a free copy of her book as well. So again, that's full at this point, but keep an eye out, and she might be doing I think this is the third one she's done. She did one in Texas, I believe, and in DC, I think. So third one's in New York at the end of the month.
And Ross Rayburn's book tour has kicked off recently. I think there was an event with lots of instructors out in New York City. I think it was the first one was at PSNY.
Yeah, I think PSNY was on the 9th, and then there was a more general one at a bigger venue on the 10th, I believe.
At the I forget what theater.
Gramercy Theater, I think.
Gramercy Theater. Did you happen to see? I guess somebody recently was watching some TV show or movie, and it was like a young picture of Ross Rayburn, and I can't even totally blanking on what show it was.
Summer Valley, Sweet High Valley,
Sweet Valley High, maybe.
Yeah,
but just a really young, fresh, and it was indeed him, because I guess he has an IMDb page with a few television movie credits. Pretty funny.
And it wasn't just the Peloton instructors who came out. I believe at his Gramercy Theater event, it ended with Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary, who was up there on the stage with Ross. So there's a good turnout for that one. And I think his tour runs through February, I think, but not all the venues have been announced. But he just announced a venue in Chicago this week. And he's still going to London and somewhere else. But in the show notes, we have a link to the list of all the cities he's going to. So if you want to check him out, you can get details there.
I'm curious if the Chicago venue is like the Vic Theater.
It's 30 minutes outside of the city. I believe Grover something, I think.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then finally, we have the community who's been in the news a little bit. The Wicked Smart Zones. They have a tradition where at the end of the year or the beginning of the new year, they like to go to a restaurant, get a big group together, and then make a large donation to the servers who are working there. This is organized by Josh Vernon, who's kind of the founder of that group. But this year they went to Red's Kitchen and Tavern in Peabody. It was in early January they did this, and I think there was actually a snowstorm that day that they had to fight through to get there, but they ended up having about 40 people in person, but they had opened it up to donations, so they had donations from all over the world come in. They ended up being able to donate $7,200 to the servers who were working that day. It's been picked up in USA Today and some of the other networks out there, so we'll have an article to one of those in the show notes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good on, and it's Wicked Smart Zone.
Sorry.
Yeah, you got to say it in that Boston accent.
We'll dub your voice over mine saying that to make sure we get it right. Sorry, Josh. I apologize for having the wrong accent.
Well, if Amanda were here, she'd be like, the Wicked Smart Zone. The Wicked Smart Zone. So it's all right. All right. That about wraps it up with instructors in the news. Let's get right into these picks of the week, and I will kick it off. First up, a DT Shaw's 45-minute slow flow yoga from January 4th. Got that from Armajar 3. She said, great way to end a day. And then staying in the yoga studio, Anna Greenberg's 20-minute 90s Pilates, also from Armajar 3. She said, a great beginner's class from Anna. And then you take it away.
Yeah, we got Mariana Fernandez and her 30-minute pop run from the 4th at 5 p.m. This was from S. Veld. And they said that it's a great playlist and motivation. This will definitely be one I repeat. And then we have Dennis Morton and his 30-minute Zach Bryan ride, also from the 4th at 7 p.m. It was from DREAZ Skis. And they said it was a great playlist. And, of course, Dennis's poetry pause.
All right. Next up, Bradley Rose's 20-minute 80s rock ride from January 5th. Got that from Armajar 3. Such a fun playlist with Queen, Bruce, Duran Duran, and more. And then Benny Adami's 30-minute 90s ride in English from January 6th. Spin Loving Mama, Just Dance Lisa submitted this one. They said Benny's joy and sincerity are so motivating. The playlist and programming were great, and he was so happy to see over 1,200 people on the live leaderboard. He deserves to have way more people than that riding with him.
And next up, we have Jermaine Johnson and the 30-minute hit run from the 7th at 4:30 a.m. This was from Panders Andy, who said, I was nervous of this class when I realized it was hit. Not having a tread, I found the idea of doing this at PSL daunting, to say the least. It was, however, amazing. It was tough, a hard workout, but with great music and awesome coaching from JJ. It flew by, and I loved it. Then we have Kendall's 20-minute pop ride from the 7th at 8:40 a.m. from Just Dance Lisa, who said it was so much dancing and fun in this one.
Right. And Charlotte Wiedenbach, 30-minute rock ride in English. That's
I'm sorry, I'm sorry Amanda wasn't here to assign that one too.
Yeah, to give the Wiedenhorn. Yeah. So Charlotte's 30-minute rock ride in English from January 7th. Got that from Christy Diaz. She said, just an amazing ride, and it's in English. And then Allie Love's 30-minute feel-good ride from January 7th. Rachel Spins 24, Christina M. Romano, and Red Hawk Rider gave us this one. False advertising because I felt great after this ride. It was the right amount of challenge where you could choose which part of the ride was the hardest and could take the other part more moderately. So there's a feeling of accomplishment without being completely wiped out. And she had a nice message of being there for you.
Nice. Well, next up we have Kelly Gullickson and her 20-minute Strength Soundtrack Club. That was from the 8th at 1 p.m. This was from Ginny Carlene, and they said, great to get a bonus of this series, and this one had the 13 going on 30 theme. We also have Andy Spear and his 5-minute core strength from the 8th at 6:30 p.m., also from Ginny Carlene, and they said it is a good, quick burn.
Nice. And Matty Mijakomo's 20-minute Broadway run from January 9th. We got that from Robin Ra. She said, Matty's Broadway playlists are always great. You can always feel how much he loves Broadway. And then Eric Yeager's 30-minute pop ride in German from January 9th. We got that from Sunny194. Said, fun playlist, all boy bands.
Nice. And we have Kira Michelle and her 10-minute kindness meditation from the 9th at 7 p.m. That was from Kira's Koalas, and they said, just a great meditation, really positive response from the community about it. And just as a quick side note, speaking of injuries and coming back, Kira, I believe, is coming back on the schedule after her wrist injury. So she's coming back to some normal yoga flows over the next week or two. She's back on the schedule. And then continuing the list, we have Tunde's 30-minute intervals ride from the 10th at 7 a.m. Eastern. This is from Terry Maxter, who said, great workout as always with Tunde.
Right. And Robin Arzan's 20-minute pop ride from January 10th. Got that from Alaska Grown. The playlist is all Angry Girl songs. Yeah, I took this one live, and Robin really went off when she played Carrie Underwood's Before She Cheats. So she got very, very passionate about that one. And then Alex Toussaint's 30-minute hit run from January 10th. Kim Carve, 11, gave us this. She said, excellent run from Alex.
Nice.
All right. That about does it.
Well, we just over an hour, but it was a busy news week. I believe over the weekend, we had enough news drop for an entire show, and then everything that happened during the actual week as well. So
there's always something. It's never, at least lately, it's never really been a slow week. So it's been a while.
No, I like to joke that maybe this is going to be the slow news week, but we've not had one of those in several months, it seems like.
Yeah, we always seem to pack it in.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, as always, thank you for tuning in, listening to us. I'm sorry for anyone that was disappointed that Amanda was not here and you had to settle for Chris Lewis. But
yeah, sorry about that. But hopefully she'll be back from her gallivanting soon. She's over in the UK, moving in her daughter. Taking classes. Yeah. Which one is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a Club Hosky meetup. Because that's her guy now. But yeah, I think you've hit your rhythm now, Chris. So you're good. You're good with filling in and jumping on.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep things moving when we need to, and get it till everyone's back in the normal seat. So,
well, Amanda will be back week. Hopefully, you'll be on with us. We have the regular trio that we've been doing lately. But as always, thank you for tuning in, watching, listening, and as always, we will see you on the leaderboard.
Yeah, and from me here in Atlanta, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for watching Pelo Buddy TV, your source for everything Peloton, by the community, for the community. Work out with us using the Pelo Buddy TV leaderboard tag and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Pelo Buddy. Don't forget that we have a podcast available so that you can listen to us while on the move. Just search for Pelo Buddy TV on any major platform and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode.